what is the name? What is your business going to be called? So, before you start filling out the paperwork for your new production company, you're going to need to conduct a search. And you're going to need to conduct a search through the Secretary of State website to make sure that the name isn't already taken by another company. And you want to continuously be checking up on this website because they update records every single day, every other hour. So just because the name wasn't there yesterday doesn't mean that the name won't be there tomorrow. So you want to continuously be checking to make sure that the name is available. And when coming up with your name, one thing you also want to think about, something that's always good to think about, is you want to think globally. So when it comes to production companies, don't just think of, what's going to work in the United States, because hopefully your films will travel worldwide. You want to think globally, and you want to think of a name that's also going to translate, in other languages that are aligned with your company and your mission statement. Another thing you want to think about is assumed names and fictitious names. So this allows you to operate your company under a different name. Maybe, you want to have a different name for your company, or maybe you want to have subsidiaries of your company. So whereas I have the law office of Jaia Thomas, maybe I want to also sell books. Maybe I also want to do consulting. Maybe I want to do, several different things under my LLC. Well, I can have different names for different portions of my limited liability company by filing those names with the state as well. And those extra fees are usually no more than $30, $40, $50. It's really not that expensive. But if you're planning on having a lot of different components to your LLC, you may want to think about, having different names for the different components of your company. One thing to think about if you are going to have different components to your LLC is that if something happens to one component, none of the other components are legally protected. So if something happens to one of them, someone suing can come after all of them. So technically they're not separate entities, you just have separate names for them, but legally someone can come after all of them. So I'll briefly go over it. I won't get into too much detail. But here are the steps for trademarking a name. You have two options. You can trademark on the federal level, or you can trademark on the state level. It's much, much cheaper to trademark on the state level. In California, it's only $70, but it doesn't provide much protection. So it only provides trademark protection in that state. So that means only people in California cannot use your name, but all 49 other states are up for grabs. So I always tell clients, go for the federal trademark, don't be cheap, just suck it up and pay for it. But you do have two options. You can do state or you can do federal level. And under the federal level, that protects you throughout the entire United States. So just briefly, the steps for filing a trademark of your name, your production company name. The first is identifying the mark format. So that means, is your mark just going to be a word? Can someone give me an example of, don't tell me your production company name. I don't want anyone thinking people here are going to steal it. But just an example of a production company name. Harpo, thank you. So let's say we want to file a trademark for Harpo. Are we just going to file a trademark for HARPO, just the letters? Or are we also going to have a design for Harpo? Is Harpo going to have squiggly lines underneath and yellow letters and a sun in the background? And these are things you have to think about when you're filing for your trademark. Is it just going to be the word, or is there going to be a design component in conjunction with the word that you're seeking to protect? So that's the first thing. You want to come up with the mark format. The second step is, like I said, you want to conduct a trademark search. So if you go to the website uspto.gov, you can conduct a trademark search and see if, the name is currently available. The third is you want to identify the goods and services that are going to work in conjunction with your trademark. So is Harpo, is that just going to protect television shows? Is that going to protect films? What is Harpo going to protect? Is it going to protect a clothing line? Maybe Harpo wants to come out with t-shirts later. You need to list everything that the trademark is going to protect. And the USPTO, they provide a list of goods and services. It's about a couple hundred pages long of all the goods and services you can claim for your trademark. The fourth step is you want to identify the basis for filing. So before you can actually file a trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, you have to be using the trademark in interstate commerce. So what that means is, let's say I want to have Harpo t-shirts. That means I have to actually be selling Harpo t-shirts across state lines before I can file for trademark protection. Now, there is a caveat. The USPTO does allow for you to file for a trademark if you have a bona fide intent to eventually sell your goods or services across interstate lines. But you have to do the selling within 6 months of submitting your application to the USPTO. And the last step is filing the application and filling out the form with the United States Patent and Trademark Office.